Welcome. I'm JP Cormier, and this is String Theory, the live YouTube show where you ask the questions and we give the answers concerning all things stringed. We're very glad to be here with you. This is our fourth week of this, and I am having a blast. This is like the most fun that I've ever had sober. So it's been a great run. And we're getting all kinds of people asking very interesting questions, and which I fully expect from my audience. They're a smart group, and we've had a lot to talk about. Well, first thing I want to tell you is, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, they're right down there, just there. And don't forget to do that, and do that for all your favorite artists. It costs nothing. It's just a metric for YouTube to tell how many people are watching us, and it helps us a great deal monetarily. You would never know the trouble I've seen. Sorry. And so anyhow, so we're doing that. And if you like what you do see and you learn something, and you want to throw us a few dollars, all the tip jar information is down in the description as well. So that's great, and I want to thank our weekly sponsors, which are, of course, G&G Music up at Antigonish, Glen Hotel, and there's some wicked good giveaways tonight, really big news, and Boucher Guitars, of course, and Levy Straps, and most recently, a very exciting addition to our little family, Recording King Guitars, and we've just had our first kind of shipment of Recording Kings arrive at G&G Music and Fantasy Music in Halifax. And as you all well know, I'm a proponent of course, Boucher is my favorite. I'm never gonna, if you want a lifetime guitar, Boucher's it. But I always like to steer people somewhere if they can't afford the massive investment of a Boucher guitar, they can get one of these, other guitars, and save your pennies until you can buy that Boucher or the Martin or the Taylor, but buy Boucher. Anyhow, so yeah, we're here, we're live. This is awesome. It's a Wednesday night. It's a beautiful evening. The sun is out, and we're coming into some hot weather this week, which is really cool because I've been freezing my arse off for the last 6 months, and so we're going to go ahead tonight. There'll be a question, of course. There'll be a little trivia question at the end, which is really cool. I thought of a good one. And there'll be prizes at the end. Some, as I said, some one really shocking one that's just really cool that I can't believe Glenn's doing. And some other exciting things concerning Levy Straps and the shop up in Antigonish, G&G Music. Thank you, Glenn, for sponsoring us and working with us on this. It's always nice to have partners and places where people can actually go and, see instruments in person and buy their equipment, and it's great. And I've noticed, I think, since the pandemic started, that there's a lot more interest in guitar these days, and I'm very pleased about that because obviously I'm a guitar pig and I love guitars and I could talk about them forever. And I have a fairly large stable of them now, not as large as I used to have, but I have a stable of instruments I have here that I use regularly, and I think that there's a resurgence in guitar music, especially just because people are kind of trapped inside, can't do what they want to do maybe, and they're going back to the guitar, and they're like, well, I'm going to learn how to do this better, or I'm going to start fresh and learn from scratch, or whatever the case may be. Music is an immense healer and a soother of the mind. So it's a great thing to have around at your house if you have nothing else to do and you're like, I better do something. Man, go get a guitar. They're fantastic therapy. So anyhow, that's my little preamble for the evening, and. Have we got anybody over there? There's, I can see that. Yeah, there's doesn't take long for it to stack up here, boys. So, how many people get on with us tonight at the beginning here, just for fun?
24.
24, right on. We've been growing every week, pretty good. There's been a large number of people joining us each week, and it's been a lot of fun. So, What's our first question there, Ginger?
First one's from Brad Chalmers.
Brad, again. How are you doing, buddy?
He's looking for tips on slide guitar.
Well, you'll find out from watching this show that if I don't know something, I'll be the first one to admit it, and I'm going to tell you right off the bat that I know very little about slide guitar. I play slide guitar. With that being said, I can play a bottleneck guitar, and I play dobro, which is a slide instrument. But my knowledge of teaching that, I don't have a lot of confidence in actually teaching somebody how to do it. So what I would suggest to anybody who wants to talk about or learn about slide guitar is the same thing I would tell any musician looking to learn anything, which is go back to the oldest recordings you can find. So all the Delta players out of Mississippi in the South, in all those regions, Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, that were making those Delta blues recordings in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. Some of them were wire recordings. I mean, even Alan Lomax had discovered, some of those players. You should go back and listen to those guys, listen to those recordings. Generalizations of the style are like, generally, most slide players from that era tune their guitars to an open E chord, which was one of the most common ways of playing slide, and it lends itself more easily to blues, and the Delta blues is open E's. There were other tunings they used, and things like that. Like some people prefer a glass slide for the pinky, other people prefer brass. And there's a whole bunch of things about slide guitar that almost require you to have a specific instrument for it, because you want your action on a flat top to be slightly higher for slide than you would for regular playing. And all these little things that there's so many complexities to slide. And that's why I didn't spend a lot of time on it as a guitar player, because although I could do it well. I can play slide. If I had to play slide, I would do it all day. But it's not something that I only can do it because I'm aware of how the tunings work and how the neck works. And I wouldn't consider myself an authentic slide player. There's guys in this province here in Nova Scotia that are way better slide players than me. People like Tom Swift. I know Matt Anderson plays slide. John Campbell, well, my God, like there's some really, really killer slide players in the Maritimes, and I'm probably forgetting 5 or 6 of them I know well. But my advice to you is to go listen to the oldest players you can find. That's what I would advise anybody to do, but anything they ask me. If you'd never take just my advice on anything. And always be willing to learn and admit that you don't know something, and try to find the information you're looking for in the oldest recordings you can find. Because basically, in my opinion, most music that we play was perfected 80 years ago, and we've all just been standing on the shoulders of those giants. It doesn't matter what kind of style we're talking about. The people that were playing in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, and some in the 60s, like once electric guitar was introduced and jazz became a thing and bluegrass flat picking became a thing in the 50s and 60s, with people like Doc Watson, these styles were perfected by these people who had no other influence. They had to make everything up on their own, so they were forced to become innovators. And those innovations are what we all copy today. I copy Doc Watson and Chet Atkins and Merle Travis and Django Reinhardt and all those people that perfected this stuff in the middle of the some of this was going on in the Second World War. And if you want to look back at slide players, that goes back in the same era, the 30s, 40s, 50s. There were some tremendous musicians coming out of the Delta region of the United States in those times. So, and they were recorded. I know me and Gunning like to listen to. There's actually a satellite radio channel that's all Delta blues, and the recordings that they're playing on that channel are all from that era. And it's incredible to listen to the musicianship there. So that's my suggestion for you, Brad. I would do some serious research because it is an old form of guitar playing that's just been built upon by the George Thorogoods of the world and the all the modern guys that started to play slide. They were taking all their ideas from the guys that were in the 30s and 40s and 50s. So there you go. That's my answer. I'm not an expert, so I'm sending you where I think you can find out. What's next?
Next question's coming from all the way from Ireland.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Ireland.
Their screen name I can't even begin.
It's probably in Gaelic, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Or Irish, sorry.
I won't.
It's in Irish.
I won't insult them by trying to pronounce that, but they're wondering if the picking pattern, up, down, etc., is very different for a jig versus a reel.
No, it's not. Anything that's a steady pattern, like any eighth note pattern, doesn't matter if it's a 6/8 or 4/4, you're probably going to play the same pattern, the up and down pattern. The interesting thing about it, I think, is that jigs present more opportunity to use to play things in an accented manner, where you have time. There's more quarter note rest areas in a jig than in a reel. Like if you're playing a reel, like there's a lot that's pretty well steady up and down. But if you're playing a jig,
Jill.
I did a few things there that were double downs because I had time. The structure of jigs is a little more forgiving, where you're ending phrases on a quarter note instead of an eighth note, and so you have the space to go. Like I did two downs there because it's an accent. So it's a place where you can accent and do something that's sonically more powerful than you could in a reel. Reels sew you into a corner where your sonic surprises are done with ornaments, cuts, triplets, stuff like that. And they have to be steady. Reels have to be really steady. A jig is kind of sexy. It's got a curve to it that you can step outside the pattern as long as it makes sense. If you're playing a big string of eighth notes in a jig, you want to maintain that up and down thing, especially if you're going to use any cuts, because your cuts always have to come off an upstroke, because the first note of a cut is always down, down, up, down. And then the next note has to be an upstroke. And so it's almost like you have to start at the foundation of using up and down 100% of the time, and then you back out from that technique depending on the tune, the structure of the melody. You back out of that technique as much as you want without disrupting it, and use. Usually, I never repeat upstrokes if they don't have enough power. Upstrokes have no. They're not very dynamic. Even on a fiddle, the fiddle is actually. What I mean to say about that is the upstroke on a fiddle is not normally dynamic. In Cape Breton and Irish fiddling, it is. There's just as much power in the upstroke, and that's what sets that style apart. But when you're playing guitar, upstrokes are generally weak. They're a weird direction for the arm, the hand. So if you want the power to do double down strokes, you want or to do two strokes in the same direction, you want downs. Also, that what happens is you can use follow through in the downstroke that you can't use in an upstroke. So what I mean by that, if I hit this note, I can pluck this note as a downstroke, or I can pluck the note and let the pick fall down to the next string, which completely changes the dynamic and the tone and the power of the note. That's a follow through note where I'm hitting the note and it's falling, the pick is falling down and resting on the string below it. As opposed to, you see the difference, it's slightly thinner when it's just a note that's being played in passing. But if I have an opportunity to go, that note there, I followed through and let the pick fall down to the B string. The note was on the G. So that's, you have to make, you kind of got to make on the fly decisions about your right hand technique. You got to keep the right hand technique as solid and steady as you can, and at the same time decide, okay, where can I put a big in this tune, right? That's how you decide. And it's going to become obvious after you play a few reels or a few jigs or anything. It'll become obvious where you can go boom and hit a note that either ends a measure or ends a figure that goes, then you turn into the B side of a tune or whatever. But you got to keep the up and down steady and pick your fights smartly. Figure out where you can break the pattern, where it's safe to break the pattern, and jump back into it right after that note. So again, this is all stylistic interpretation, but you can't go wrong ever by maintaining that steady up and down pattern when you're picking, because it will always lead you in the right direction, and it will always make your playing faster, cleaner, and of more even volume than if you rely on a lot of downstrokes in a row or a lot of upstrokes in a row, which are clumsy as hell. Playing ups in a row is really clumsy. So you want to use gravity and the direction of the pick flow to play everything you play. So I hope that helps you, and thanks for talking to us all the way from Ireland. That's awesome. I've never been in your country. I want to go there so badly, and I've been invited to Ireland many, many, many times, and I just haven't got there yet. So hopefully one day, and if we're ever allowed to get on a plane again, I will come and see Ireland. I know so many people from there, and follow so many musicians from that country. It's just, you guys know what you're doing in that place, I'll tell you. So what's next there, Ginger? How are we doing?
Next we got Tim Bennett, who's watching from Taiwan.
Tim Bennett in Taiwan. Holy crap. That's awesome. Taiwan. Wicked, man. What? It must be way late there. Okay. It's tomorrow there. It is. It has to be.
He wants to know what your opinion is of fan fret guitars.
Well, I've played a few, and to be totally honest with you, I don't see the point. I don't understand. I understand the mechanics of why they do it and how they make it work, but it doesn't seem to. I would, if I owned one, it would really not make that much difference to me, and that's a weird thing to say, but it really wouldn't. It does. It's like I've played a few fan fret guitars, and I just thought, well, why do this? And frankly, the people that I've seen using fan fret guitars are guys like Andy McKee, these really super high-end percussive fingerstyle players. They seem to gravitate towards that because the physics of it somehow helps them do what they do, and I'm not sure why that is. I really am not. I played a fan fret guitar built by my buddy Joshua House. Josh House is a guitar builder in Goderich, Ontario, and he's a tremendous luthier. And I played one of his guitars years ago that had fan frets, and I was like, well, it just feels like a regular neck to me. Which is weird because there obviously is not normal. The angles are all strange, but somehow it worked when you played it. So I don't know. I think it's completely in the hands of the player. If you find that the physicality of a fan fret neck helps you do your style and what you do and what you want to learn, if you feel that that's necessary to create what you're trying to create or copy who you're trying to copy, which is always great, you should always emulate someone, right? Then do it. Have a fan fret guitar. But I'm not so sure that they really present anything groundbreaking with respect to being able to play, difficult things. I'm sure I'll get schooled on this. I'm sure there'll be some of my guitar playing buddies be, wait now, this is why. But when I look at a guy like Michael Hedges, who basically invented percussive fingerstyle guitar, he played a D28 with regular frets, and like all those tremendous players like Andy McKee and all there's a lot of them now. They all copied him. He was playing a straight Martin. So I like I say, I don't know. I think it's in the eye of the beholder, and if I'm wrong about that, let me know. I'm curious myself because I have been around them. I've played them. I personally wouldn't own one because I don't see the need for it for what I do. But there's a vast possibility that guys that are doing incredibly complex things, it works for them for that reason because it's so different and the angles are spread out the way they are. It might work for them. So, yeah, there you go. That's my humble and short opinion on fan fret guitars.
All right. On that note, second to 50, who's in Lerwick.
Hey, This is my buddy right here. This is Sherman, the Shetland sheep. I picked this guy up in the Lerwick ferry station 26 years ago, something like that. 1995. He's been with me ever since. That guy's been in every recording studio I've ever owned. And so just Sherman, just Shetland sheep. Anyhow, I want somebody in the room at all times to look friggin' amazed. And so, yeah, sometimes he's the only one that looks amazed. All right, from Lerwick, how are we?
They're wondering if you ever used F-hole guitars, if they're any better or worse than a standard round hole, or is it more of a personal choice?
I do use F-hole guitars, and I've caught a lot of flack over it from some of my close friends. Right now, I own an Epiphone Masterbuilt Deluxe, which is a large body F-hole guitar, with a floating adjustable bridge, and it has an excellent pickup in it. And I love that guitar. I love F-hole guitars because they're archtops, right? And if you look back in history at some of the first guys who were playing country music and old-time music, they had F-hole archtop guitars. Like Mother Maybelle played an F-hole, an old Gibson guitar, archtop guitar. That was what was on all the old Carter family records. So I particularly, we have dogs aboard. I am particularly fond of the old Epiphone guitars. Like I said, I have one here. It's the Masterbuilt Deluxe, they call it, and it's a beautiful sunburst body with some. They have a specific Fishman pickup that they use, which I don't know anything about except it sounds fantastic in this guitar. I'm not a Fishman pickup fan, but this guitar, you plug it in and it sounds amazing, and I love it. I play it live. Dave Gunning has made fun of me to no end, and so that's Dave, because Dave's an audiophile so bad, right? But I've even recorded with them, like put them in front of a microphone, and they sound old and retro and earthy, and I love that. So I always have one in my stable. So there'll be times that, as a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure that we did a live show early on in the pandemic when I played that guitar and plugged it in. Did I not use that guitar at some point?
I don't remember.
I think I actually did a live performance with that guitar. And because it's just so cool. It's such a cool... I love anything retro. And the older the technology, the better. And like, for instance, Recording King... The reason I like those guys is because, first of all, they're making incredible instruments for way cheap, but they've used the all of the recipes from the original Recording King guitars in the 30s that came out from Montgomery Ward in Canada here at Woolworths and Sears Roebuck. Like, they went back and used all those schematics and recipes to build their current guitars. So when you play one, it's like you're playing an 80-year-old guitar. It's really, really cool. And I just love companies that do that. I love what Epiphone is doing. I've always been kind of shocked that they continue to make these master builds, because they're so awesome that you think this can't last much longer, but they do. And actually the price of them has dropped. So there was one time when I had all three of those archtops. I had the Deluxe, the Olympia, and the Zenith, which are different body sizes. And so I'm a big fan. So if you don't be surprised if you see me anywhere playing an F-hole archtop guitar, because I think they're super cool. So what else have we got there, Ginger? How are we doing?
We got JLEX 0275.
JLEX.
Mm-hmm. They're currently learning guitar, and they're wondering if there's an easier way for picking the correct strings and not to move around too much or too little.
Okay, well, this is a job for Master Music Method. I have an online school, in case you didn't know that. You can click on the icon in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen here, and go to that site and check it out. But I'm going to tell you anyway what's on there. You don't have to join. You can if you want. It's $15 a month US, and you get access to literally, dozens of videos that are designed for you. This is questions that you have. So I'll just give you a quick example of right-hand technique, which is you'll find on there in depth. And the reason I send people to Master Music Method is because it's a multi-camera shoot, multi-angle shoot. You see the guitar from your angle. So I shoot it from here, looking at my hand, here looking at my hand. You see it from the front. There's tablature. It's well explained. And it's important that these simple, people take for granted these simple concepts that they don't get taught ever, really. They don't ever really get taught this stuff, even in private lessons. So, to make a long story short, the pick is grasped as so. You want about 1/4 inch of the pick sticking out. The right arm is resting on the corner of the guitar here, and that's all it's touching except for these fingers. They're touching the top of the guitar. At least one of them all the time. Sometimes just the pinky. Sometimes they're all laying there. But those fingers tell me and tell my hand and create muscle memory as to how far the pick is going into the strings, which string you're picking. For instance, if I play the top string, I'll often grab the bottom string with these other fingers. So you'll literally see, if I'm playing up top here, I'm sometimes anchoring my whole hand there and playing from the whole arm, not the wrist. I'm not doing this. I'm turning my whole arm. And the way I'm gauging all that is keeping those fingers attached to the top of the guitar. Don't ever let go of the guitar. Never. Keep this anchored so you know where that pick is. Keep your hand shape relative all the time. And relax and just let the fingers keep the relationship between the tip of the pick and where these fingers are. That's the connection you're making. Always touching the guitar. So that's a condensed version of what you would learn on my school. And if you want to check it out, like I said, feel free. There's a 3-day free trial. You can check it out for 3 days for free. If you don't want it, you just hit cancel and you don't subscribe. But like I said, it's $15 US dollars a month. You have access to everything on there, not just guitar, but fiddle, mandolin, and banjo as well. And we're putting up new lessons every week. We just put one up last week. There's one going up tomorrow. And there's literally like 5 or 6 videos that only deal with the rank beginning of learning how to play. And I am a stickler for right and left hand technique, and you'll learn all that from the site. So, but if you don't want to do that, that's the condensed version. Keep that hand touching the guitar. Keep control of the pick. Never rest your arm on the top of the guitar or your wrist on the top of the bridge. There's reasons to do that, but later on. For right now, you keep the arm relaxed and curved outwards, and keep the fingers on the pick guard on the top of the guitar. Grab the bottom string if you're playing the top strings, just to keep you anchored. And then after a while, you'll just know where you are. It's muscle memory only. It's not difficult, just takes a little bit of practice. So, good luck to you. You can do it. Who's next?
Pete Arsenault.
Pete Arsenault.
How do you recommend to practice cross picking?
Cross picking is it's self-explanatory, and people don't realize that. The reason it's called cross picking is because the tune that I learned, okay, that taught me cross picking is this tune right here. I learned it off of Doc Watson, off an album called The Essential Doc Watson. I think that's what it was called. It was a double album set. But he played a tune called The Beaumont Rag. The whole second half of the tune is cross picking. Cross picking is exactly what it's called. So what's happening is, and again, I love doing this because it proves my point over and over again. The only way to cross pick successfully with speed and cleanliness is to never break up and down pick cycle, ever. So cross picking requires you to go down, up, down, and then cross over that middle string and hit the first string again with an upstroke. And do it backwards. Up, down, up, cross over the middle string, down, up, down. So you're doing the 3 strings, down, up, then up, then reverse, and it just keeps going like that over and over again, and you're crossing over this middle string. If you're not using up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, you don't cross over the middle string. You can manipulate it so that you don't have to do that. and then it becomes not cross-picking, and it becomes sloppy, and it becomes slow, and it doesn't sound right. So you have to keep the up and down thing and cross over that middle string after each pattern of 3. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And what I'm doing, I'm saying them in 3 so they sound like it's backwards. Down, up, down, then up, down, up. But what's actually happening is I'm just not breaking the down, up, down pattern forever through the whole system. Everything. Watch my right hand go up and down, starting with down, of course. Watch my right hand go down, up forever, because that's what's going to happen when you cross pick correctly. So you got. That's what's happening. It just, the down up thing never stops. And when you do it correctly, you cross over that middle string. You can play whole solos like that. Like, so the secret is, again, going back to that technique. If you never break that stride, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, forever, you'll automatically be able to do things like cross-picking and playing complex lines, because it becomes muscle memory, and your brain just automatically goes to it. So if you learn it and your hand learns it, if you want to start delving into playing other tunes, like playing tunes based in cross-pick style, like Wildwood Flower or Home Sweet Home, or it's all just becomes cake, because the hand is automatically just going. So there's a few things that you can do inside cross picking that gives you, and this is a really advanced concept, but there's a few things that you can do inside cross picking that were sort of invented not only by Doc, but Tony Rice, and also Jesse McReynolds, the mandolin player, who was the cross picking god. And he did some things that went along with cross picking that you could stick in patterns that would change your options a little, but you have to learn that initial pattern first. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, until you throw up. That's how you learn it. There's no other way to do it. There is other ways to physically do it, but you'll never have it clean, and you'll never have it with any amount of speed, or you'll only be able to do it so long before you grow tired. And you don't want to grow tired. You shouldn't ever get tired playing. If you're hurting yourself and straining muscles and your arms getting burning and tired, you're not doing something right. And the only time that should happen is when you're playing so hard, so long that you just burn yourself out, right? But not just practicing. You shouldn't be getting cramps. And if you're getting those problems, you're doing it wrong, because everything is easy. It really is. If you simplify everything and just do things a certain way and don't change from it, muscle memory will occur. Your hand will get stronger. Your arm gets stronger. Your brain can slow down and start to thinking about musical options. While you're cross picking, it becomes just sort of a Zen thing, and you just, okay, I'm doing this. I can do this really easy because I'm not thinking about it anymore. So what else could I put in this that could be cool, right? If you're doing it through muscle memory, everything goes up. Your ad lib possibilities, that's how you ad lib. That's how you ad lib solos, is do things that are second nature to you, while your brain goes, okay, maybe this lick would fit, and then you try it. And that's how you become a soloist, right? But you have to learn the basics, and you have to learn a system of basics, and then you can do whatever you want to after that. And that system allows you to do that. So that was a really in-depth answer, but I stress it so much, and I don't want people to, especially people who are learning and learning new techniques. I want them to do it right, so they have success and it spurs them on to keep going. It's no good to teach somebody something and they or have somebody teach themselves something that's not quite right technically, and it causes them to give up. That sucks. We don't want that. We want people to succeed and play and then innovate themselves. I believe that there's still room on the guitar and every instrument to create something new that's never been done before. It's hard to believe that, but it's true. I mean, look at the guys that are coming up. Right? Somebody's laughing at me? What are they laughing at over there?
Joe.
Oh God.
He says he threw up.
He's so I believe that there's still more to be done, right? But the only way we're going to get to that point is to have people learn from the established masters, the way that they did it. And then once you've got that under your belt, then you can branch off on your own and say, perhaps this is another way, or this is a new way to do this thing, or this is something that's never been done before. And that's the world of guitar and why I love it. Well, because it's just never ends. A never-ending cycle of people learning and people emulating players and taking their styles to other realms and other possibilities. It's friggin' amazing. It's the only instrument. It's one of the most popular instruments in the world because it's so universal, and that's a beautiful thing. So, anyhow, there's your cross picking lesson. Now, what do we got?
We get John.
John.
Think for tips for someone just starting to learn jigs and reels on guitar.
Well, I just told you. That's a good question, and that's just apply everything I've just been saying. You got to keep your right hand steady. You got to pick tunes that you can actually play. Don't pick tunes that are too hard to start with. Pick tunes that you know, maybe. I don't know what your background is, but if you know fiddle, if you're a fiddle player maybe, or you know fiddle players, or you get tunes that you're really familiar with, practice those first to build up the muscle memory. And learn the neck of the guitar, learn what it sounds like, learn how it responds to different things. And then build your repertoire and your repertoire of ornamentation. Because there's so much ornamentation in fiddle music, and you have to translate that onto guitar. It's not easy. And so you take one little ornament, perhaps just pick cuts first. Or you try to play a clog that has a bunch of triplets in it. Or you try to play tunes that has a lot of tuttums, as we call them in Cape Breton, grace notes, like those type of things. Pick tunes that you know well, but will force you to learn one new component of fiddle music on the guitar. Like I like to teach McNabbs because it will teach you picked cuts like that, or it'll defeat you entirely. One or the other, but you're going to learn or die, one or the other, right? So that's
A lot of throwing up and dying.
Yeah, what's that?
A lot of throwing up and dying.
A lot of throwing up and dying in this video, but yeah. So, but seriously, I say these things tongue in cheek, but I know how bad people want to learn, and they will push themselves and push themselves and push themselves. So make sure you push yourself the right way. Pick a tune you know. Pick an ornament you want to learn and implement it in that tune where you know that it goes, and learn that. And then go to another tune that has a different requirement ornamentationally, right? And just build it like that, and build your repertoire slowly with tunes that you know, that you enjoy playing, and then start to learn things you don't know. Pick up tunes you've never played before, or pick up tunes. Listen to a bunch of music and find the tune that makes you go, whoa, that's a wicked tune. I never heard that before. Get excited. The more excitement you have about learning and about accomplishing what you're attempting to do, the better you'll learn, and the quicker you'll learn, and the more confident you'll feel about playing in front of people, which is the greatest practice in the world, is to play in front of somebody, even if it's your wife or your brother, your sister, your dog. knowing someone's watching you puts a certain amount of importance on it. Becomes a performance, right, instead of a practice session. So get something really ready that you think you can really nail, and the next time you go somewhere, it's like, oh, check this out, and do your thing. Don't make a big deal of it. But you'll be surprised if people don't know you're learning those things. You'll get a ton of encouragement and a ton of goodwill, and that makes you want to learn more. And it makes you humble because you realize how much work you just put into that thing, and people were nice enough to compliment you on it, which because you might suck, as we all do at the beginning, right? But doesn't matter. Just play through the suck, and just keep working it and working it and working it. That's the best advice I can give you. Like, listen to players like Dave McIsaac, who's one of the greatest Celtic guitar players ever. Listen to John Allen Cameron. Listen to me. Not so much me. I guess I'm sitting here. But I've recorded those kind of tunes all the time. Listen to the guys who do it. Right. Listen to Darren McMullen. Darren McMullen from Coig. He's one of the best string players on the friggin' planet. Listen to that guy. Listen to guys who do it, and they're very few and far between. Quite honestly, Tim Eadie is another one. So yeah, listen. Pick the stuff you know. Work on it till you're happy. Move on from there. And try to get it in front of people as soon as you can to test your metal, because you have to. What's next, Ginger?
Tim Bennett has another question.
Tim Bennett again. How are you doing, Tim?
How do you recommend caring for guitar in very hot, humid environment? Carbon fiber guitars handle temperature and humidity changes well, but how are they sonically?
Oh God, carbon fiber guitars are garbage. I wouldn't play one of those on a bet. And I'm sorry, but I just wouldn't. They're horrible. They're fine for like a beach guitar, but I mean, there's people that are selling these instruments for thousands of dollars, and you can't even adjust the action on them because the neck is graphite, so there's no truss rod. The saddle's everything's made out of stone. You can't lower the saddle. You can't change the neck angle. The action is what you get from when you pull it off the wall, and that's usually garbage. So I can't recommend that unless you're. I mean, they are indestructible. They're indestructible. That's their claim to fame. Sonically, they just can't cut it. I'm sorry, and I know that there's companies out there that do it. I've played them, and while they're innovative, and there's a lot of work goes into these instruments, and some people may get away with playing them, depending on the style of music they're using. For a guitar player who is used to wooden instruments, there's just no comparison. There's no comparison at all. The only place that I would see myself using one of those guitars is only plugged in, because they do present a unique sound plugged in, because there's no wood involved. The piezo is trapped between slabs of graphite, which makes it respond differently, and so they sound differently, and they penetrate differently in a mix and all those things. But if I was you, the best way to keep a guitar healthy is, of course, you got to leave it in the case. And I hesitate to tell people to humidify the guitars or try to dry them out or any of those things. I never use humidification on my instruments. Never. I have never done it. The only time I've ever done it, I had the top fail, because you can't really control how much humidity they're taking in when you're introducing it to the guitar artificially. It's not safe. Depending on where you live, there's a natural cycle of humidity. In the wintertime here in Canada, in Nova Scotia, it gets dry. So I make sure that here in the studio that the windows get opened a bit, some humidity can come in the room. And in the summer, it's warmer and more humid, so I make sure that the air conditioner is on in here, and that if I see guitars that are starting to show signs of humidification or over humidification or dryness, and it's easy to tell, because all you have to do is run your hand along the top of your guitar right here, and if you feel that there's a hump or a mountain behind the bridge, it means the guitar is swelling and it's too wet. If you can feel the grain of the top and under your fingernail, it's too dry, because the finish will settle into the groove of the actual grooves of the wood. The grain of the wood will sink. So you just got to use common sense. And plus, so when a guitar gets fat and swollen, the action goes up and it's hard to play. If it's dry and dehumidified, over dehumidified, the strings drop because the top falls. So you just got to use common sense. Mostly a guitar, if it's kept in its case, no matter what it's been in last, it will maintain the atmosphere in the case, regardless of what's going on in the room. And you've got to be sure not to put humidification in a guitar in a case. It's a dangerous way to do it, because you can't control how much water that guitar is going to suck up in that case. When you close that lid and walk away, if you put a teaspoon too much water in that device, your guitar could absorb it and just puff up, and then you get bridges lifting, fingerboards falling off. A guitar is a living thing. The wood is a living thing. It's not dead. It's alive. It's still breathing. It's still taking in moisture and expanding it and expelling it when it needs to. And it's a living thing. So you have to treat it as such. It's like watering a plant. When you go check on your guitar, look at it, check it, play it, feel it. If it seems dry, you either leave it out of the case in a room that you know is a normal, not over dry, over wet. You want a normal atmosphere. If it's too wet, then you've got to put it somewhere where it's a little hotter, a little drier, to get the water out of it. Most good guitars will not oversaturate or dry out if you're careful. If you leave your guitar in the back of a hot car too much, bad things can happen. Another trick is you never hang your guitar on the wall if it's an outside wall. If you're going to hang guitars like I have here in the studio, you make sure the hooks are on walls that are inside the house. A guitar, like I said, is a living thing. It will draw moisture right through drywall. If the hook is on the outside wall of the house, keep your hooks on the inside walls, where there's the room on the other side of the wall. And that way, and of course, leaving guitars out of cases is not the best thing to do, because they will dry out eventually. The case is a great idea. It captures the little miniature climate that's around a guitar, and it keeps it from getting out of control. So in the case is the best thing, and be super, super careful if you're going to introduce water into your instrument. I can't stress that enough. It's so easy to overinflate a guitar and destroy it. So you just got to be careful. Be diligent. Know your guitar. Know what it feels like. Know what it sounds like, and watch it and just act accordingly. I think that a lot of people just jump automatically into, we got to put dehumidifier, we got to put a silica gel, we got to do this, we got to do that, and I think it's a way too much to get very little return. I've never had the problem. So we're gonna go into our trivia question now. So this is a wicked prize from G&G Music. We've had a lot of things happen in G&G over the last.
Are doing the answer on here?
Yes, we're going to do the answer on this, in these comments on this video right now. So, G&G, as you know, has been sponsoring us from day one. The very first show, we had given away a $500 coupon for anyone wanting to buy the J.P. Cormier Signature Boucher guitar. They're very expensive, so $500 is a lot of money off of that price. And so today I found out that we're going one step further. G&G Music, because they're moving these guitars. He's already sold a couple of them, and now there's another one on order. They're being shipped. He ships anywhere in the world. Glenn has told us that anyone who is within the sound of my voice that goes to G&G Music to buy a J.P. Cormier Signature Boucher will get the $500 off. You don't have to answer the question. All you have to do is go in and say, I heard about the deal from String Theory. I'd like to buy the JP Signature and get my $500 off, and you, sir, or madam, will get your $500 off that guitar. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. You can call him up. You can talk to him online. He'll ship it to you. You can go there. He's selling them with a $500 discount for anybody who mentions this show. That is awesome. And thank you, Glenn, for that. And so exciting. So, on top of that, that's not where it ends. Recording King is now in his stable. And it's a guitar that I'd like to suggest to anybody who wants to buy a great guitar at the low end of the cost spectrum. Maybe you can't afford a Boucher right now. You got to save some money. You can still buy a great guitar for a little bit of money and save your pennies to get that Boucher or whatever you want to buy. And Recording Kings for the next 30 days, there'll be this trivia question we're going to do is going to get you $50 off on any Recording King guitar. And the coupon's good for a month from today. And also, the winner, when you go in to collect your $50 off one of those Recording Kings, you're going to get our new G&G Music Levy's leather strap, free. So you're going to get your $50 certificate for Recording King. You're going to get your free, beautiful Levy's leather strap with the G&G logo on it. All thanks to Glenn. And Levy straps, of course. And Boucher and Recording King. So we're really excited about this. So if you want a JP Signature model, call up Glenn. You're going to get $500 off. Doesn't matter who the hell you are. If you want to win this $50 gift certificate against a Recording King guitar, and you go down there and pick that up, pick up your Levy's strap, here's the question for the evening. And the answer you can put right here on this broadcast right now. The first person that comes across our screen with the right answer will win the $50 and the leather strap. You all know well, probably, my love for Django Reinhardt. Django Reinhardt was the first guitar god and probably one of the best acoustic guitar players that has ever lived and ever will live. His innovation as a player is immeasurable. We are all still trying to copy some of the things that he did and may never do it because his physicality, being burnt as a young man and losing these two fingers and being able to play only with these three and these two for the occasional chord, it completely altered how he played. So it's hard for us to even understand what he did. And especially with just two fingers. So the man was a god. And interestingly enough, I and he have a very unique connection. There's two things that him and I share, very important things. And whoever can guess either one of them.
Either one of them?
Either one of them. Whoever can tell me what I share with Django Reinhardt, there's two things in particular I share with him. And if you tell me what those things are, you win the $50 Recording King certificate and the Levy's leather strap. I see stuff coming in there over there already, flying in. Nothing, nobody yet. Aha!
3-card Monty. Got it right.
What's the
birthday?
3-card Monty. 3-card Monty, you are the winner. Django Reinhardt and I were both born on January 23rd. The other thing, which I would have taken as well, is our name. What?
have a tuna melt as a favorite sandwich.
Tuna melt is a favorite sandwich. The other thing is our name is both John. Django Reinhardt was named Jean Reinhardt, and Django was a slang, Romany slang for Little John. Also, it also means I awake in the Romany language. So it's so cool. So we were both Johns, both born both born on January 23rd, and there you go. So 3-card money.
Yeah.
Okay, 3-card money. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to send an email to me at jpcormier38@gmail.com. It's in the description below. It's one of the tip jar addresses. Send an email to us. We will send that on to Glenn, and you can collect your $50 coupon on any Recording King guitar and your brand new Levy's G&G leather strap, and go down there. And even if you can't go down there, Glenn will send it to you. He'll ship you a guitar if you want. Whatever you want to do. But there you go. You won that prize. So send an email over to us at jpcormier38@gmail.com. It's in the description below. And thanks for playing. It's so cool. I can't stump anybody. This is the 4th week. That one I really tried to stump you too. I wasn't playing around there. That's not easy. I thought there's got to be, nobody's going to know that. But anyhow, whatever.
Lucky guess.
Let's do one more question and we'll call it quits for the night. What do we got? One more quick question.
Sort of a follow-up question from Brad Chalmers.
Yes, Brad.
Do you rest your pinky on the guitar top when you're playing fingerstyle as well?
Absolutely. Just like Chet. Chet used to do it. You'd always see Chet with his hand in that shape, with the pinky on the pick guard of the Gretsch and the other 3 fingers just coiled like serpents, ready to hit whatever he had to hit. He always had that pinky resting there. And yes, sir. So that's another Chet question, of course. And I mean, a lot of other people did it. Chet, where I get it from. And so there you go. There's another week of String Theory. I want to thank you all so much for being here. Thanks to Glenn at G&G Music, Boucher Guitars, Recording King Guitars, Levy Straps, and the lovely Ginger for producing our little session here we have every Wednesday night. This obviously goes up on YouTube. You can watch it again if you want. If you want to hit the tip jar for us, please do. Hit subscribe, hit notification, and we will see you every Wednesday right here at Ginger's Barn at 7 p.m. on Wednesday evenings. String Theory. And just remember one thing. Music's only hard as you make it. We'll see you next time.